So this is Sexton Cemetery, and this is where our great-grandfather Thomas was buried. And this is, would you say, right inside? Are we right inside Newton County yet? Are we over the line yet?
No, I think the line is right down here.
We're near the Newton County line.
Okay.
On Highway 7.
Yeah.
Right about the line.
Right about the line.
So this is our great-grandfather. Now, was he called Thomas?
He was called Tom. Mm-hmm.
Tom Nixon?
Tom Nixon. Mm-hmm.
Married to Granny Ellen.
Exactly. Shaddox, Rebecca Ellen Shaddox.
And he died in 1909. And he died, fell off a tree, right?
He fell out of a tree. He was squirrel hunting and killed the squirrel. The squirrel remained up in the tree, and he climbed the tree to get the squirrel out of the tree and fell. Mm-hmm. He lived for several days. So probably he died. He probably ruptured his spleen, I expect.
Yeah. And his Martha's, of course, our grandmother.
Yes.
And you were saying though that Granny Ellen's dad, whose name was
Napoleon Bonaparte Shaddox,
didn't like him.
Didn't like him. Didn't want Granny to marry him because he thought that he was not good enough for her. She was a Shaddox, and she was, of the higher echelon, so she shouldn't have married him.
Higher echelon in Newton County?
In Newton County.
Yeah.
Shaddox's name was pretty well known in Newton County. And so then they had 4 children.
Yeah.
Robert was the oldest, and Robert married May Raulston and had 2 sons, Carly and Bill. Ralph married Wassie Vinson and had 2 sons, moved to Oklahoma. Troy got somebody pregnant and ran off so he wouldn't have to marry her, and stayed gone. Nobody knew where he was for 45 years.
He went to Wyoming or something?
Went to Montana. In later years, though, he came back and to see the family. The youngest child was your grandmother, Martha, and she was 18 months old when her dad died.
18 months.
And they had no money. They had nothing, and Boone would not help them at all. But he agreed to let she and the 4 children sharecrop on what he called the lower place down on the Buffalo River, and we'll go down there after a bit.
Okay.
So you said that he's buried in this cemetery rather than the Shaddox Cemetery because
Boone would not allow him to be buried in the Shaddox Cemetery, so they brought him over here, and he was buried in this cemetery. Some of the Raulstons, if I understood right, wanted to come to the funeral, and Boone was such a strong individual, he wouldn't allow them to come.
So then Granny Ellen remarried?
No.
She never remarried?
She never remarried.
Okay.
And
married, she raised these 4 kids by herself?
By herself, exactly. The boys went to work. Robert and Ralph and Troy all went to work, and they were so young, they were like 14, I think, that they couldn't work all day long. They were building roads, I guess, for the county, in Newton County, and they couldn't work, so they would take turns going. One would go one day and one would go the next day. And they said the supervisor knew it, but allowed them to do it. They lived on the farm.
At the lower place?
At the lower place, and raised what they had to eat.
Did they go to school?
They went to school. Yes, they went to school at Flat Rock. Where she went to school.
Yeah, we'll see the remains of that school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I wonder why they put that wire up on the inside. Look.
Well,
No, that wasn't here the last time I was here. I guess.
Was that metal fence here the last time you were here?
Oh yeah. It's been. But the Park Service may say that's the line rather than.
So we're here in Shaddox Cemetery.
Yes.
And buried here who's buried here in our family?
In your family is your great-grandmother, both your great-grandmothers, and many family members.
Is Boone buried here?
Bone's buried here.
Napoleon
Bonaparte Shaddox.
Now, was his dad here too? Did Boone?
Yes.
Which of the Shaddox immigrated to this part of?
Ezekiel, and he's here.
Okay.
And he came from North Carolina, I think.
So I guess what part of the 1800s did he come in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're right now standing in front of the graves of looks like Jesse and William Ashley. And the story is they were killed by bushwhackers
Down here on the river.
1864.
On the Buffalo when they were coming back from the war, right?
Exactly. And they were supposed to be home and didn't come in, and their wives went down and found them.
Like they were on the way
Right.
back from, and they got this far.
Made it through the war,
Made it through the war.
and then just got almost home and got killed.
Yeah.
This is Granny Bell Raulston and Forrest Raulston.
He was county judge in Newton County, but died when he was 56 years old. And I think the family has a history of having kidney problems. Bill and Carly both had kidney problems.
Yeah.
And he died with a kidney problem when he was 56. And Granny, he died in 1929, and Granny Bell lived until 1952.
And where did she live?
Becky's dad.
Yeah.
Arnold's her.
Youngest son.
Yeah.
And your Papa Guy's brother.
And where did Granny Bell live?
Over on Flat Rock, and we'll go there, and I'll show you where she lived. She lived there until, and for many, many years until she was elderly and moved to Jasper because that's where Uncle Roy lived.
Now, do you know when the Raulstons came to Newton County?
No.
So was Horace, who was his dad, do you know?
No.
Okay.
REMMEL, that's another of their sons, of Horace and Bell.
Now I remember when Remmel died,
1970.
I may have been a pallbearer at
You probably were. Okay, well, let me see.
Who's this we're looking at?
That is the. Well, now who's that, Randy? Wait just a
This
second.
is the paterfamilias.
Yeah, I think so. Who's that, Randy?
You know what? We need the old. Son of wife of Shine.
That's Sion.
Rebecca.
Oh,
Says right.
Yep,
yes, yep, Rebecca.
Okay.
So born.
Died in 1901.
She's born
1822 to 1901.
And Sion was born in. Looks like
1806.
And died.
1895.
Yeah.
August 30th. He died in 1895.
1822
to
1895.
So he was born in North Carolina.
Chatham County, North Carolina.
So he's probably he was the Shaddox that
That
immigrated
came here first.
Yeah.
And
Marion C. Shaddox.
Husband of Rachel.
And
Okay.
And then you go over here,
then we go over here and we start with another
another generation.
Yeah, another generation, because we have
So here's MB. So that'd be Napoleon Bonaparte, right?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon, he's Bone.
He's Bone, and he is our great.
Yeah.
Grandfather.
So that's great grandfather, and Sion would be our great grandfather.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
This is great.
So he's he's three greats.
Yeah.
He's
Sion.
three greats. Okay, and he had Thomas Nelson Shaddox, Joshua Shaddox, Martha.
Is that who Nana's named after?
All of these are Martha.
Our grandmother, Martha
And
Raulston, who was a Shaddox. No, she was a Nixon.
She was a Nixon, right?
Margaret and
Martha.
Let's see, Martha.
1880 to 1896. This one was just 16.
Martha L. and Martha.
Did you see this?
This is Granny Ellen's sister.
That was
Mary J. Shaddox.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane, born in 1875 and died in 1902.
Who's Granny?
Robert.
So this is Granny Ellen.
Yeah.
That's your great grandmother.
Becky Ellen. Died in
1961.
so she would have been, how old was she when she died? And Robert is her son.
She was.
He
84.
died,
She
yeah.
was 84.
84. Yeah.
And,
So Rebecca Ellen's our great grandmother.
Great grandmother. You remember at Nana's house, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you remember her reading to you?
Yeah.
And you were saying that she, you don't know how much education she had. There was a school at Flat Rock.
There was a school at Flat Rock, and Wilbur was at the school at Flat Rock.
Okay. You don't know how much education she had, but she was quite the reader.
She was quite a reader. She
Read the Bible.
All the time. And
Claimed to have read it 3 or 4 times, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
She's a very strong individual. A very strong individual.
she read us the Little House on the Prairie books, didn't she?
I can remember her telling about when she had those 4 small children. If she heard a noise in the hen house, she'd take her gun and go out to see what it was,
Uh-huh.
whether it was an animal or somebody stealing her chickens.
Yeah.
And she sewed. The kids would walk from down at the lower place where we were going, where I'll show you it is. They would walk with butter and eggs and come to the store at Pruitt and exchange it for sugar and salt and
Whatever they
And
need.
they took flour. Obviously they had wheat, I guess, because they took it to Marble Falls. There was a mill there, and had it milled. And they walked. They had a mule. Mom said, to do their plowing with, and they would ride the mule across the buffalo when it was up and dodge logs.
Huh.
But she said every evening they had chores to do. After they ate in the evenings, they would sit around and they would shell peas, or they always had chores to do.
Tough life.
Yeah.
Tough life. She was a
Growing
wonderful.
up in Newton County and the teens, not teens, right?
Never heard her complain about her position in life and what had happened to her. She raised the 4 kids. Mom was the last child, so when Mom got married, they continued to live with her, or she with them, and they lived together. And she lived with them until she died.
Yeah.
Until Dad died. But I never heard Dad say one cross thing to her, and I never heard her say one cross thing about Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Yeah.
Then she
Now,
never
was
could.
she there when Nana got the shotgun out and shot the hole in the floor?
Oh yes, yeah. She probably encouraged it. I suspect.
Uh-huh. So he wasn't very old, Robert.
He was very young.
How did he die?
He died. We think he had a kidney infection.
Okay.
He died about
Same.
before Bill. Just when Bill Nixon was a year old.
That's Bill's dad.
It's Bill's dad.
Oh.
Bill and
And
Carly's
he was
dad.
3?
20.
Now, where's their mom?
Oh, at Maplewood. Aunt May.
Oh, Aunt May.
Yeah.
Sure.
At Maplewood.
Oh, okay. So they married brothers. There was brother and sisters that married brothers and sisters, right?
Exactly.
May
Raulston
married
Robert Nixon.
Yeah.
And Nana.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
No,
No.
then Nana married Guy Raulston. So
Oh, okay.
her brother married Dad's sister.
Ah.
Okay.
brother and sister married brother and sister.
Okay.
It happened
Yeah.
quite a lot in
Yeah.
this rural area. I
So
expect.
that's the double cousin thing. Now, let's go back though. Nana was married first to,
Houston.
which all the Houstons are,
Exactly.
are right here.
But we didn't know that, and we never asked. We had no idea that she was ever married before. Many people in this area died very young because there was a typhoid epidemic in the area about early 1900s, not 14, 15.
Yeah, so there we have Josh Shaddox. He was 21 years old, died in 1914. So,
Margaret died when she was 14, right?
uh-huh.
Son of Sion,
So this is Thomas Ezekiel.
right?
Son of Sion.
Now, what relation to Napoleon Bonaparte?
Dad.
Son,
Well-
I guess, brother, wasn't he?
Brother.
Brother, he was his brother.
Because Napoleon Bonaparte's dad was
Sion.
Sion. So, these were all brothers that came here from.
From North Carolina.
Yeah.
Remember, Randy, when we had the reenactment, he was Ezekiel.
Okay, so this we were wrong. The Ezekiel we looked at a while ago must have been his son, maybe.
Had to have been.
Yep.
So
He
so
brought his
it was
family here.
Ezekiel size. Was Si Ezekiel's son?
Sion. was
Sion?
Ezekiel- Sion was Ezekiel's son.
So this is the real powder for me.
Exactly.
So
And
this is our great
Great.
exactly.
Born
Grandfather.
1794.
born in 1794, shortly after the Revolution.
And he lived a long life, 83 or 8.
1883. So
And here is
this is Matilda.
Matilda.
Looks like Talitha.
Talithia.
Talithia.
Yeah, it was
Talitha. Can't see her.
Right.
And she was born in wife of Ezekiel, born in North Carolina, November the 25th, 1794. Died 1887.
And when did he die?
He died in 88.
88.
So he outlived her. So this would have been our great
Grandmother.
grandmother.
No, just
Three greats.
Three greats.
Ezekiel,
Okay. Sion, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Granny Ellen.
Granny Ellen, and Nana,
And Nana. That's
and you,
and me.
and us.
so that's what?
Five
Six?
greats. Five greats.
I know that's 6 generations. So
So
From-
3 greats. You got your grandmother.
your great grandmother.
Your grandmother was your grandmother was Nana. Your great grandmother was Ellen. Your great
Great-great-grandfather.
father was Napoleon Bonaparte.
Great-great-great-grandfather was
Was Sion.
Sion. Great-great-great
Fifth, 5 greats.
5 greats.
Was Ezekiel.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
There.
This guy right here.
These two right here.
Ezekiel Shaddox.
Amazing.
So this is the homestead of Napoleon Bonaparte right here.
Yes.
This is where it was.
This is where it
Right.
was. And this is where Granny Ellen grew up.
Yeah.
In this area. And just down at the bottom of the hill is where Napoleon Bonaparte agreed to let she and the children
Sharecrop.
sharecrop.
That was the lower place.
That was the lower place.
This is the upper place, I guess.
I guess this is the upper place. See
Okay, so we're down where Granny Bell Raulston's house was.
that? Exactly.
That's the old, that's where the foundation is, right here. You
It was
see,
it was a log house.
log house.
That had 4 rooms. Had a huge big room with a huge fireplace. That was the only heating in, except for the cook stove. And all five of her grandchildren would come and spend a couple of weeks with her every summer.
5, you and,
Faye and JB and
Oh.
me and Bill and Carly.
uh-huh.
And she, she had a Down syndrome daughter who lived with her at that time. So there'd be 7 of us in this little house.
Uh-huh.
And I remember she had beans and potatoes to eat, but we had ham, I think, that she sliced off of something
Probably from smoke.
from somebody, she had a smoked ham. But it was fun. It was fun. Yeah,
We ought to have some of these old rocks.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Look.
I don't know if who owns this property would appreciate
I'm sure
that.
that Wallace would do.
You think?
He probably would be glad for you.
Well, told them why you were getting them.
Yeah.
And that was her spring right there.
Spring rocks.
No, the spring, I think, is right here. It's right up here.
Oh, so she.
Right. Here is one mom right here.
Oh, is it?
Right
Oh,
here.
okay. All right.
Well, but it probably comes all the way down through here.
She would just get water out of that spring.
Yes. Get water out of the spring and put milk in the spring and butter in the spring. That was the only refrigeration they had.
See that pipe right there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that spring comes out of that rock right there.
I thought it was up there.
But that pipe right there, probably
For
Goes
the
spring. Yeah.
feeding trough.
Mm-hmm.
There was a barn over there somewhere. Look at that grapevine.
That's a big
There's a
one.
barn over there somewhere. Now, Granny Bell must have moved away from here in probably 1940. So that's how this has grown up.
So you said
Ed,
there
is
was a
that a
barn.
car
and-
coming over the hill?
Huh?
A car coming
Up on top?
up on top.
They planted corn up there.
And you talk about hard to plow.
You're not talking about field corn. I mean, sweet
They
corn.
plowed
either.
it.
You're
No,
talking
talking about
about field corn.
They
Yeah.
thought it was plows made with those things.
Yeah, I'm sure. So
See, this one's broken off.
if Granny Bell moved from
Sure.
here in 1940, Dad and I built the house where Randy and Kim live now in 1960. And the house, there were still some old logs here at that time.
Was
We
there?
came over to see if we could get one that was good enough, and there was not one good enough. But
Couldn't-
you could still see very visibly the house. Of course, that was 53 years ago.
Yeah.
This is the remains of Flat Rock Schoolhouse, a one-room schoolhouse where your great-grandmother Rebecca Ellen and her family went to school. They walked or rode horses from the lower place, or from the farm there when the motor came in. And then also your granddad Guy and your grandmother Martha went to school here.
Uh-huh.
So from the lower place, it's about 2 miles, maybe.
I don't know. I'm sure they would ride horses or walk.
But everybody from this section of Newton County went to school here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all grades.
All grades were in here. And I'd been here when, and seen it intact. And it had the little benches.
Yeah.
Wonder how many kids
Went to school.
went to school
Oh,
here.
there would be 50 or 60
Whoa.
at a time in this tiny little thing.
Probably with one teacher.
With one teacher. Galena McCaleb's father taught here.
Rainey.
Taught here. And I remember Mom saying that some of the boys, when they got to 8th grade, they didn't have anything else to do, so they'd go to school again. And they systematically ran teachers away. They'd be so mean that no teacher would stay. But the teacher usually came here and lived with a family.
Uh-huh.
And fixed lunch for the children. The kids would bring biscuits or ham sandwiches made with biscuits.
Somebody make beans and
They make beans.
There might be in the summertime, there might be a copperhead around
I
here.
bet. Maybe even now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at White Church, completely on the other side, at the foot of Gaither Mountain. And this is where the Nicholson family sort of began. If you can read that. Reverend Bill Nicholson. It has been remembered that Reverend Bill Nicholson said he attended school here. In a newspaper article, he said that the first school the children attended was about 2 miles east of the old Gaither home. It is believed this is the school he referred to. John Crump was the teacher as far back as 1867. Reverend Nicholson recounted that the children all studied out loud and that there was a great din when they were all studying the lesson from the old blue-back speller, all spelling the words out loud. The other branches taught were arithmetic, grammar, and McGuffey's readers. The teacher knew the pupils were studying when they had to study out loud. The White Church Cemetery is 1.5 miles northeast of Gaither and is so named because of the little white church building there. Donations were given to build the present building. The first building was destroyed in a storm. Many people recall having heard Reverend Bill Nicholson tell about the cemetery. He was going to school there, and the children were playing under a large tree. The land had been laid out for a cemetery, but no one had been buried there. A little girl, Sarah E. Maggard, said, "I wonder who will be the first to be buried in this cemetery. If it's me, I want to be buried under this tree." It wasn't long before she died and was buried under the tree. Hers was the first grave in the cemetery, dated, I'm assuming 1871. Many people remember when funerals were conducted under the huge trees on the grounds. Decoration services have been held there for many years. Miss Norman Wasson, Miss Hewlin Martin, Rufus C. Nicholson made up the money and the help build. With donated labor of the community, the church was rebuilt in the 1940s.
That was that
General
May
Nicholson.
sister, or was that mom?
Yes, this is pretty near the homestead that Amzi Nicholson.
No, James Hargrove.
James Hargrove.
James Hargrove came to this area in 1852 and homesteaded 800 acres in this area for a horse farm. He was not married, and he was passing by a house one day where there was a young girl pouring hot water down a hole in the floor on the front porch, and there was a snake underneath there, and he stopped. Her name was Mary Dorinda Snelson, and he later married Mary Dorinda.
And Amzi was their son.
Amzi was their son and was your great grandfather.
And then his son would have been.
His son was Newt.
Okay, well, he's
Oh,
our
so
great grandfather.
so Amzi would have been our great grandfather. James Hargrove would have been our great great grandfather.
Yeah.
Right.
Your grandfather was Newt, and your great grandfather. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The plaque that you just read, Reverend Bill Nicholson, he was one of the ministers that married Dad and me.
And how was he related?
He is James Hargrove's son.
Amzi's
brother.
Amzi's brother. Okay.
He was granddad's.
So he was Dad's great uncle.
He was Dad's great uncle.
Is he buried out here? Is he buried at Maple?
He's buried at Belfont, I think.
Oh, really?
Because that's where he lived.
Well, there's two William Nicholsons
Maybe.
at Maplewood.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.